This horse has not approached any short steps with Piaffe or anything of that nature, but we're going to use this horse. I said, Mary, we're going to do some short steps. She said, oh, God. Don't worry about it. We just want to show you the beginning and see how the horse reacts to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask Mary to take the horse in collected trot, go forward and do a few lengthenings, medium trots, a few medium trots to get him thinking a little bit more forward. I like the word sneak because in using the aids, I can actually train the horse to listen to the progressive aid in order to get down to the area where I am asking for the horse eventually to do the Piaffe. So I don't have that missing link that some horses have when they get to that point where you ask them to do Piaffe and then all of a sudden they leap into passage, or you ask them to do passage and they all of a sudden can't get back down to Piaffe. So on the next long side, collect him a little bit. Slow down on the long side very carefully, sneak him back, slow. That's enough, and go forward again. And then do it again. I got to check your truck. You must have a V12 in that. And then, yeah, and go forward again. And when I do this, I touch the horse with the whip between the just in the line, a little bit higher than where Mary is right now, right there. This has a tendency, I've found, to ask the horse to go more forward. If I touch him too low, I get the leg coming too high. And the hard thing is to continue to keep that activity of the hind leg as I slow down to carry the load so he can change his equilibrium to the rear. I have to be very careful what I do with the whip. Again, sneaking back very carefully, slowly. Has he ever had anybody work from the ground with him? Oh, that would be nice, wouldn't it? You're still trying to position him a little bit too much to the right, Mary.
And you can see Michael is not asking for that much. What he only wants to see is that the horse reacts to the rider's collecting aid, which also involves the leg. So it's not just done from the front to the back, but it's done from the back to the front.
That's enough, and go forward. Keep the neck straight, absolutely straight, forward.
And you see that was already much better. You could see that the hind end was staying bent. The horse did not just hang it out and started to get wide behind. And here the horse really bent his hocks quite well and already started bending its loin.
Think forward, keep your outside leg. A little more than that. Challenge him just a little bit more. That's enough. That's enough. Patting. That was too hard with the whip. And try to coordinate when you're using the whip that you use the leg right in time with the whip. At the same time, if you have to use the whip, you make sure that you ask a little bit from your leg, and at the same time you allow your hands to go forward. I don't care if his head comes up. That's enough. That's enough. Good girl. Pat.
See, and that is really what every single time when you're asking for a down transition in a certain way, at this particular level, that's what you should do a little bit. You should ask for that before you let the horse go into a down transition. And then if you just keep playing like this with the horse, just rather than doing the down transition, you go back out into the same trot.
Yeah, good. Good, a little slower. Sit, think forward. That's enough, and go forward. Good girl. Now, this horse has never done this. And you can see him adjusting very quickly. Okay, let's go forward on the next long side and do medium trot on the long side. Get him to think a little bit more forward.
Again, like we said before, every time you have collective work, you must give the horse something to refresh itself. So you go forward into a medium or lengthenings to refresh the horse's thinking ahead, because you always want to have him think ahead, even in the most collective movement. I think this is about the level where you really should be able to concentrate on getting a little bit of a collecting half step before every transition. Like in a canter, you shorten the stride a little bit before you go into a down transition because you need that for your pirouettes. you need to have the half steps a little bit before you go from a trot to a halt. So the horse should be able to just trot and then just do this and then stand. That's how you get your squareness, and the horse always to stay underneath you and not always parked out behind. Because the only reason horses park in their halts or stretched out, well, one is conformation sometimes as well, but most of the time if you start working the horses in this particular level and train them to stay underneath you a little bit more in shorter strides, their transitions will be much more submissive because they're learning to stay gathered under the riders before a down transition and don't just fall into the rider's hands because the transition is done from behind. So it's very important.
The quality of the rider's seat. If you don't have a good seat and you're having a hard time to sit and just get working trot and to get through, legs are going, get somebody else that knows more about it, that can sit a little bit better. If you have a good horse and you want it to learn, I can tell you it really is worth the investment. Rather than saying, geez, well, I want to learn this. Take the time and whatever it is, go someplace and have them help you with it or have them do it. And you learn in that process rather than hurt your horse, because you can do a lot of damage if you can't really sit. Your horse may be ready for it, I'm not saying that. But if you don't have this lady has a good seat, and you can see the aids are not sharp or quick, although she's got turbocharged sometimes, but you can see that the effect of the aid is really very constructive. So it's, I think, very, very important to keep that in mind.